Boss Hog Liberty Podcast. This is episode number 111 of East Central Indiana. Welcome to it's episode 111, everybody. I'm Jeremiah Morrell, and I'm joined by co-host Dakota Davis and two randoms here, I guess.
Today's episode features our featured guest, Sean Rao, and then Mason. And
yep, that's about
the punching bag all day. Mason Rottinghaus, the Purdue University student.
Yes, today we are going to be talking about universities and colleges and how they get priced and where your tuition money goes. Then we will also be talking about Elizabeth Warren and her plan for student loan forgiveness. So we have Sean over here who went through all kinds of school because he's a lawyer. And then we have a current college student here to talk about the issue of college with us. And then at the very end of the show, in like 4 hours, we are going to discuss the city of Newcastle and Mayor Greg York giving an update on the 1400 Plaza.
So this show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we will provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you always learn something new. This promises to be the longest episode we've ever had. We brought 2 pages of show notes and a 4-page addendum.
Yes.
This is going to be a train wreck of train wrecks, Dakota.
I don't think so.
And the best part is everybody's going, I didn't read the show notes. I have no idea what they say.
I'm confident in our 2 guests. Neither one of them are like Travis Wyke and are going to just go through every single bullet point and make it a 30-minute talking point. So hopefully we get through it in a reasonable amount of time. But there's a lot to unpack with colleges because if you're going to talk about student loan forgiveness, you have to talk about, well, why are we taking out loans? Because it's expensive. Well, why is it expensive, and how did it get that way? So there's so much. There's a page and 3/4 of actual show notes that I wrote, and there was so much more I could have put down.
It's we're going to tackle all of college education and the funding in 30 minutes, and you're going to know everything you need to know.
I really think that if our congressman listens to this, Greg Pence, he will come up with some sort of resolution to deliver to the House, and it could possibly be signed into law because of us. I think that this show is that extensive.
I would have worn a suit if I knew it was going to be that serious.
This is why I wore the suit. Because I just came here from work.
Sean's trying to get noticed. Yeah. So, real quick reintroductions. Everybody that's here has been on the program before, but Sean, this is your 3rd time on the program.
Trifecta.
You are you're going towards we need a bio on the website status at this point.
I'm chief legal counsel for the Boss Hog.
Only because you have good taste in beer.
That's right.
That's true.
And you're the only one that will talk to us.
That gets my foot in the door at most places with most people.
Is beer still allowed? That was all you wanted to know this morning was, hey, is beer still allowed on the show?
I just don't want to get banned. Like I heard you guys have the ban hammer on a few people.
Well,
Chase came back, so
Chase got the ban hammer off of him. So
yeah, it was lifted, and he was able to come back with Eric Schonsberg, and he didn't say any more curse words. So we're going to let him come back again.
He did show up. If you listen to last week's Patreon portion of the show, Chase showed up with an old rotten banana.
Oh, exciting!
As a gift, and then the gift kept giving because it was still on the table when I came back in today.
He didn't take it with him.
It was rotting a week ago, and it only got better with time.
Poignant, fragrant. Yeah,
it's very good banana for banana bread.
Yeah, that's true. I guess we probably should go dig it out of the trash and let your bride cook up some banana bread.
That is something that we could maybe fix up for the Patreon people.
Banana bread?
Yeah, banana bread. But for now, we're just going to thank the people that are $50 and up. And you guys are the lifeblood of the show. And everything you do, we greatly appreciate. So thank you to Christopher Bilbrey of Perception is Reality in Winchester, Indiana, Brantley Spicer, Christy Avery, Jonathan Phillips, and Craig DaCosta. Brantley Spicer is also running for city council in Muncie.
Ward 3.
Yep.
District 3.
They have districts up there.
I feel like if you're going to support Chris Bilbrey and his business, you need to mention the rest of them. Brant's selling insurance now up in Muncie. So if you want the Allstate insurance, go hit him up.
I was going to say offers parking. To donate to Brant's.
Or you can do that. Christy Avery offers parking in Fort Wayne.
The best parking there is.
John Phillips down at the Andy Moore Buick GMC in Fishers, and Craig DaCosta, the other attorney to the stars.
Oh, excellent.
But he's in Hawaii, so you just go visit him on vacation.
Yeah. If I'm on vacation and in need, I'll know who to call.
He's the one that you call whenever you get a DUI in Hawaii.
Too many Mai Tais and Pina Coladas.
That's it. I drove right off the island.
Call Craig. All right. So if you don't want to support the show on Patreon, but you want to help us out a little bit, then there are a couple ways you can do that. You can do that by fulfilling our wishes of new equipment and the upgrades that we need around this place to make it even better. You can find all of those on the Amazon wish list. Just search Boss Hog of Liberty on Amazon. We also have some merchandise stores on tchip.com, and it's /BHOL1, BHOL2, BHOL3. And then we also...
/ all the numbers.
Yes, just 1 through 3 for now, until I add more. And we also have the GoFundMe page set up, and the GoFundMe is set up so that we can upgrade our camera equipment, and that's just going to help us it's just going to take us to the next level.
It'll solve the problem we had last week of the front end of the video being a mess.
Yep. That'll never happen again. I might get it uploaded to YouTube in 2 weeks.
We live in Mevo's world. All right. So Mason, you're here. You're a college student. You've just completed your first year at the Purdue University.
The Purdue University.
And
not so much about it.
How's the life going up there? Did they say, hey, you are a great student, it's completely free, no loans, you're good to go?
Yeah, that's not how it goes.
That's not how it worked out.
Didn't work out like that at all.
So you're going to have some firsthand experience with some of the stuff we're going to talk about.
A little bit.
All right.
You on track to amass like $250,000?
Oh, no, not that much. Not that much at all. But I mean, it's going to be a significant amount. So we'll be there.
Well, we've got some info. The Purdue's the school that I kind of identified. As we get into this, we'll get to talk about it a little bit. But Purdue University's done some things to control tuition and to try to create different opportunities. So we'll get into that a little bit. So Dakota, you have provided the guide. You did the legwork, and you are going to lead us through the outline.
I'm going to do my best. I'll do my best. Everybody just make a train behind me. I'll be the line leader. So the first thing
I feel like that needs some music.
Our producer's slacking, but I just got
he's looking. He's lurking over there.
It's going to be, I guarantee that he's going to click a button and it's either going to blow your combine. Turn your volume down now. Second of all, wait for the ad. It'll be a YouTube ad and you're going to blow your ears off.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about is how college pricing works. How did we get to the point where colleges cost so much money? Why does it cost Mason so much money to go to Purdue University, which is actually significantly less than a lot of the other large universities around the nation? Because of Mitch Daniels up there, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. But basically, I went through like 4 links. I used a lot of different sites for this. So if you are a Patreon member and you're like, there's no links to click on in the show notes, it's because there's too many. There's so many links for like every single one of these bullet points. But basically what it boils down to is there was a lot of people in government, and they thought, hey, we need to work harder to make college and higher education more available to every American.
That's your trains.
That's not a song. That's just the rumble of a train. If we opened the door, we'd hear that rolling through over here.
You didn't ask for songs. You said, I want to hear trains.
I hear the train a coming. All right.
I was going 70s disco party music is what I thought was coming.
Yeah.
I was
Train?
Yeah,
I was thinking, all aboard, baby, bang, bang. Yeah. So we were all on different pages.
I'm thinking of an actual train.
Mason, somebody's like, hey, I need some train music. What are you giving us? Mr. Frat Boy.
I'm thinking something you're going to listen to on the train, not like just like some trains in the background.
Is train music similar to like elevator music?
I'd say something like that.
Hopefully,
depends on what kind of train.
It's just Frank Sinatra.
More like Kenny G.
Like Kenny G. Yeah, just some clarinet back there.
Kenny G is a saxophone player. We'll forgive you. You're not actually graduated from college yet, so there's no reason you should know that. You're not old.
He's so much younger than you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm
the oldest person in this room, and I just realized it.
That's just sad.
30 years on me.
Shut up. No, shut up.
So
Hey, Dad.
the
Well, that's actually close to being.
there were a lot of things that really revolutionized the American collegiate level of education. A lot of very significant turning points. I think one of the earliest turning points that we have, like on record, that we can tell made huge leaps and bounds in the amount of people that were going to college was actually the GI Bill, which was signed into law in 1944, and by 1947, just under 50% of Americans that were attending college and university were recipients of the GI Bill. So that dramatically changed the amount of people that were attending college compared to the hundreds of years before that, where it was just a very affluent white male culture on colleges all across the nation. And now the people who are coming in from fields of battle could go to college and learn. And there were thousands of men and women that were educated because of that.
And what's happened is you have basically an almost endless supply of revenue available. So it's not market driven. So to say that, well, college is too expensive, so I can't do it, because you've got people that just have a voucher for free education. So it's good for whatever you want it to be. If you're talking about the GI Bill at that time, or eventually the next step that came along is that you had government backed student loans that allowed Mason, who's not credit worthy in any way, to go sign up for, I don't know, $25,000 a year in federal student loans, federal and private student loans, if you wanted to do it. I would assume.
And
We've not talked about the financials. I just did a little bit of brief. How much is it? What's the most you ever spent at Aldi or whatever, or Walmart? And you're like, $80. So that wasn't true. That was
Bought some groceries once.
you bought $300 worth of groceries one time, right?
Once.
So before,
A lot of ramen.
whenever the government first started handing out federally subsidized student loans, they weren't even covering the full cost of your education. Even though college back then might have cost you $2,000 a year for Purdue University or something. I don't know how much Purdue actually charged in the late 60s and early 70s, but that's it. They didn't even cover the entire amount. Like you were still on the hook for like $1,000, which could you imagine you right now that you're like, man, I got to pay $1,000 to get through the rest of the year at college. Like you would be like, I got to pay $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about how you piece it together, and I think when we get to the end of this story, there are options and ways you can get through without having to take this dead on. But back in my day, which I know has been 15 years since I started college, but Ivy Tech was $1,500 a semester. Like it was about $300 a class. You could work and make it happen and get your first 2 years. It's all about the decisions you make.
Right. But there's this weird thing that we have in our culture right now where it's like 18-year-olds are expected to know exactly what they want to do for the rest of their entire adult lives. And you are going to be shouldered with $100,000 of debt for a decision that you made at the age of 18.
You can end up being something stupid like an attorney.
Yeah.
Or worse, a philosopher. What I was
Seriously.
going to school for.
Yeah. I feel like
think about that.
At Hanover?
No, Taylor. Yeah.
I feel like philosophy and like psychology 4-year degrees, those are the degrees that you get whenever you sign up for college and you just don't really know what you want to do. But you're like, philosophy's pretty interesting.
The philosophy is really hard work, though. And
That's true.
people think that
it's hard to find work as a stand-up philosopher.
It is hard, but it's challenging academic work too, and it prepares you for a lot of people go out of that and become attorneys for that reason, because there's a lot of writing and a lot of analytical thinking that's required for
sure
for a position like that. So there's something to it, but it's certainly not something where there's a philosophy store and I go work on philosophy.
If you got, seriously, no matter what you're doing right now, driving your car, I don't care. I want you to send me an email right now, jeremiah@ballsoccerliberty.com. If you got my stand-up philosopher joke, I want an email.
I didn't know. It went over my head.
It went over yours too?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anybody in the room? Nobody.
Bueller.
He's so old.
Mel Brooks. It was Mel Brooks, History of the World.
I should know.
I thought I was going to connect with Sean on that one.
That's my bad.
God
I
dang
miffed
it.
it.
Really? I mean, like somebody.
I didn't get it.
Somebody's going to email me and say, yes, I got that.
But
You and I
now,
are probably the only two that actually seen that movie. So
yeah, I've never seen it. But now what has happened with the business of student loans is like, it's very similar to the meme that I posted on the Ball Soccer Liberty page today before the show. And it's a scene from Fairly Odd Parents. And it's Timmy Turner selling lemonade at a lemonade stand. Kid comes up and the sign says 25 cents, lemonade 25 cents. And the kid goes, oh, look, that's perfect. I have a federal loan for 25 cents. And then Timmy Turner goes, oh, wait. And then goes and replaces a sign and it says 40 cents. And that's been happening for decades now.
The goalpost moves and moves and moves.
You can get federal student loans. I think this is per semester. There were a lot of different figures I looked at. So I think this is per semester. It'd be $31,500. I'm not sure. That could be yearly.
I actually think that's over 4 years. You can only pull out.
Was it?
There are different programs.
I think it's
that's the federally guaranteed.
Yeah.
You run to a certain point as an individual where you can get that much in in federal student loans, and then you can go to the unsecured market, and then you can also go to the next level of Parent Plus. So when you've extended every nickel that you can borrow, Mason, then it becomes mom and dad's job when you get into that third or fourth year of school and damn it, we got to get him through. He's got to finish or else it's just a giant, enormous waste of time. Now mom and dad have to sign up for the Parent Plus loans where you each, they basically co-sign for you and maybe you each do half.
Yeah. So for the first year, I think it's a guaranteed $5,500. And after, like they say, oh, you're going to go back to school, they'll give you a little bit more each time and eventually adds up to, I think, around there. I can't say anything. I pull them out. So I think it's a little bit of a small amount, $31,000. I mean, in no way, shape, or form do I like loans, especially student loans, but we all need to get that insane amount from somewhere to pay for it. So
let's talk about this as a student going in. Did you sit down with a guidance counselor or your mom and dad or go to something on campus and say, hey, these are your options for what to do, or is it just fill these forms out and find a way to cobble it together?
We really sat down with an advisor from, I think it's Invest Ed from Indiana. And originally I wasn't going to Purdue, I was going to Butler. And, Purdue is
an in-state school.
An in-state, it's
better in football.
Yeah, you can say that. Well, it's also a third of the cost of Butler
because it's in state
for a year because it's a state college. And I realized that though Butler gave a lot of assistance, it didn't come down to Purdue. This year at Purdue, I paid, I believe, $2,400. Like with the $5,500 loan, I paid $2,400 out of that $55,000. Like if I wouldn't have pulled the loan, that's how much out of pocket I would have paid for the year.
$2,400.
$2,400
because you had scholarships.
I had one-time scholarship through the community foundation, but also Purdue does this really cool thing now. They introduced it this last year. It's called the Boiler Affordability Grant. And if you live in a household that makes less than $70,000, based off that, you give your FAFSA and everything and your financial aid eligibility, and they give you so much off that. And whatever scholarship you bring in, it fluctuates because I started out with like $11,000 in that affordability grant. So that's half of total costs for Purdue because it's like $22,600, something like that. And I got an $8,000 scholarship through the community foundation. And based off that, they changed how much I got in that affordability grant because if they would have kept it the same before that scholarship,
you would have had money towards next year. I would have had
money towards next year. But then they took some away out of that grant, and then I ended up owing money to the university to go for the year.
Yep.
It's complicated.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. There's so much to unpack whenever you're talking about college and pricing and how it got this way. I spent like the last few days, I usually listen to podcasts while I'm driving around for work. And this time I just had YouTube videos about college education playing in the background. I listened to like Dave Ramsey, talk about college education, and he gave like his was like something like 75 minutes. And there was so much in that, and I was like, I wish I could just like retain all of this and then spit it out verbatim.
So the
on Wednesday.
the decisions that you make now decide how long you're going to be paying student loans for, though.
Absolutely.
Because you can make, your housing choice, right? When you applied for housing at Purdue, you had to say, hey, I want to be in the fancy air conditioned, I don't want to have a roommate dorm, or I want to be in whatever the cheapest thing is you have available.
Absolutely.
And it's a few $1,000s
and
a
they
year
don't
difference.
show you the prices. They don't show you the prices of housing. It's just you put them, rank them in order from like apartment or single with AC, double with AC, and a couple others.
Surely
quad
that's on
with
Reddit.
AC.
You got to be able to do your legwork and figure that out, right?
I'm not wasting my time. I'm just going to apply.
It's only a $4,000 conversation. Well, I'm not wasting my time.
Why should he be the one to decode all this? Why shouldn't it just be upfront
Why isn't there
pricing?
an upfront price, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they don't show you the prices. So, I mean, you can go on their website and see like the rooming contracts and things like that. And that's for every university. And I wasn't wasting my,
I'm going to school. It doesn't matter.
I'm just going to school. So I was like, apartment with AC. And I mean, I only paid, I think it was $2,400 for rooming. Like basically, with everything coming through.
And then board, right? Room and board. So
Board.
board being the food.
Yeah.
You have a food plan to pick, right?
Well, yeah, I picked that unlimited.
It depends upon how many breakfasts you require.
I picked that unlimited.
He's like, I picked the unlimited.
I got that unlimited
I
with
want
the
that
extra cash.
I want that freshman 40.
It's like, it was like, it was like a universal pass. It's like,
that's a similar theme on a lot of different college campuses. It's like a cable company. They're like, your bill's going to be this much with just internet, but for only $5 more a month, you can get our basic cable package.
your 30 channels.
But along with the basic cable package, we have to sell you the landline too.
Yep.
But if you pay $10 more than that, then you can get more channels on your television and long distance calls on your landline. And you're like, what even is all this? There's a lot to decipher, but you're talking about thousands of dollars being made, $1,000 decisions being made, and they're not even telling you the price.
Now, I'll tell you this. I think, I'm going to be honest, I swear where they get you in college is the meal plans. I swear. I mean, trust me, I ate my fair share. I ate so much.
Purdue's got pretty good food, though.
Oh, it was
Yes, they do.
quality. And
They have their own on-site slaughterhouse. The beef has got to be
it's
phenomenal.
the butcher block, the boiler butcher block. It's great.
I toured it. It's a brand new building.
It's
I went
nice.
into the kill room. It was great.
And I think the meal plan I had was $6,000. Now, if I didn't eat because they get that food dirt cheap. Like they get 1,000.
Yeah, it just comes in from Gordon Food Service.
Exactly.
And,
They pay so much less than I paid. I think for $6,000, I could have kept that paid for the whole entire food. I swear, for that whole entire dining court for the year. That's over exaggerating, but I mean, $6,000 is probably not much compared to how much comes in each kid depending on their meal plan, and how much they buy in food for the dining halls.
So the other tricky thing, I don't know if you know this about Purdue or if they talked about this with you, but you can get through a 4-year school in less than 4 years at Purdue. Basically, you don't get charged per credit hour at some universities. Like when Ivy Tech and Indiana Wesleyan, the schools I attended, it's so much money per credit hour.
Yep.
At Purdue, you pay per semester.
Per semester.
So that's another opportunity for people to zip through quicker or save some money.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just not that smart, so.
You're in an incredibly difficult program. You're a pharmacy student.
We'll get through it as long as it takes. We'll get there.
We'll get through it.
I'm going to graduate eventually program.
I'm working on that 6-year degree.
What it takes over half of American college students. It takes longer than 4 years to get their 4-year
Absolutely.
degree.
I actually just saw a tweet today. It was ironic. It said, just finished my 2-year associate's degree in 7 years. And I was like,
okay. I'm still working on my associate's degree from whenever I was 18 too. So
I don't think that's a problem. It's just, it's going to become a problem when you're paying all this money right here. That's it. I mean,
Sean, you're in your mid-30s now.
Yes.
How familiar does this sound to your college experience?
Personally, I did not have to pay for tuition because I had a parent that was a employee of the university, but I did pay for room and board. Did want to have the campus experience. So when I walk away from that, it's not really that substantial. But then when you pile on, a couple of years of graduate school and 3 years of law school, even working through a lot of those things, it can pile up quickly.
Total non sequitur.
Yes.
When you went to Tyler, was that the bus accident? Was that after you were already out? On I-69?
I was there.
Yeah,
I was there, and I knew a couple of people on the. Yeah.
Well, that's a way to bring down the show.
Wow, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
We weren't.
We were having such a joyous discussion about student loans.
Joyous.
So then there was this time all Sean's friends died in the interstate.
A few acquaintances, but very, very nice people. And it was a tough time to be on campus at the time. And
I can imagine. I literally just did the math going, man, I remember how old I was at the time, and it makes sense.
That was junior year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway, you can all Google that. It was before you were born.
Yep.
No, the issue, I think, that the inflation adjusted tuition tripling over the last 30 years. I mean, there's like just such a quick uptick in the cost of loans, that it's not really justified by anything other than, colleges want more and the spigots are open and they're going to get the money.
Well, we've got this culture now throughout the entire United States that you're in high school and every single teacher that you have from the time that you're even in 5th grade is telling you
have to go.
Once you get out of high school, then you got 4 more years of college. And it's not even a question. You're going to college. And I whenever I was in high school and I was looking at colleges, went on a couple of different campus tours, actually enrolled and went to orientation at IU East my senior year.
You were just following your girlfriend. We all know that.
Yeah. No, she was going to University of Indianapolis at that time. Anyway, so then I'm like, you know what? I really have no idea what I want to do with my life. So I was going to be taking a lot of philosophy classes and psychology classes, just like I talked about earlier. Sure. And I'm like, what do I want to do? And I'm looking at all these different careers, and I bounced around everywhere. I'm like, I can be a chiropractor, or I could be a marketing specialist. I had no idea. And then I decided, you know what? I like working with my hands a lot. I'd been in the building trades program, and I job shadowed an electrician, and I just decided, you know what? I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to be an electrician. And everybody freaked out. The guidance counselor at school and every single teacher that I told this to all said the exact same thing. And it was, you can't do that. You're too smart to not go to college. Think about your future. And I was even told by one teacher, don't you want to be able to provide a living for your future family? Oh, yeah, because you can't do that as an electrician, as it turns out. You can't do that unless you go to college. And I haven't looked back.
Yeah.
There were a few times where I was slightly disappointed and
the biggest thing
myself.
You miss out on is discounted software.
Well, it was whenever I was seeing pictures of Chase whenever he was at Liberty University and he's partying it up down there with Jerry Falwell. And I'm seeing all my friends that did go to college and they're having so much fun. And here I am working 7 12-hour days on a construction site. I'm like, you know what? They were all right.
But you had the funds to prove to yourself that this was a good decision.
Well, then I bought a house and it went okay.
I think the tide's kind of turning, though, as far as cultural attitudes, because I think growing up, that was very similar to my upbringing, and I'm glad I went to college. It's not I shouldn't have went to college, because without that, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. But it's just not for everybody. It's not a universal thing where the Democrats and the left lose me as somebody that's open-minded is that they want to make college a universal.
Right.
Whoever can go to college can go to college. And it's just that's not really how this is going to work going forward.
Yeah, it's not a great idea because if you take something special and then you flood the market with it, it is no longer special. And we already have projections that by 2030, 65% of jobs in the United States are going to require a 4-year college degree. 60, that's a lot of jobs. A lot of the jobs out there are going to require a 4-year college degree. If college becomes a right instead of a privilege, and it is afforded to everyone at no cost, you have no skin in the game whenever you get it, then imagine how much higher that number is going to go.
Right.
And the people that don't make it out of college, the 37% of American college students that don't actually graduate, what happens to them? Where are they going to go? What jobs do they have?
Well, they'll eventually migrate to some other place as far as in the workforce, but I don't know if you're familiar with like This Old House.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I watch it every week religiously. And
I'm more of an Ask This Old House guy than
okay.
This Old House guy.
I like both because it takes me about an hour to drink coffee on Saturday. So I'm drinking my coffee on Saturday, watching This Old House. And then one of the things they've really promoted.
Richard Trethewey is my guy. I don't know about you. Oh yeah. Big Richard fan.
I'm a big Norm guy.
Oh, you old man.
Yeah.
Norm and, yeah. So anyway,
We've lost Mason completely once again.
They're pushing.
He has no idea.
One of the big initiatives that they're pushing is the
Trades.
The trades that there's so many people that are in the trades now that are going to be retirement age, like
for sure.
Norm, people of that age.
Tommy Silva.
Tommy Silva is going to retire someday.
It's like there should be hero cards for these men.
But who's going to come up in the trades and because there will be tons of jobs available to people, and it's not.
I mean, I've been on the construction sites and I've seen it, and you have older folks who are in their late 50s, starting to get towards 60, and a lot of those guys are really, really smart. They're very intelligent. Of course, I was in the electrical industry. I was an industrial electrician. So running big pipe for wire and things. And a lot of those guys,
they don't
know
run
math.
electricity through pipes.
Oh yeah.
That's where the internet comes out of.
What do I know?
Pipes.
It's all pipes.
Dang it. I've been a plumber all this time.
I've been a Richard Trethewey.
Yeah. So but a lot of these guys are really, really, really good at math. And then you have the people who, if there were younger people on the construction side, a lot of times I was the only guy. I was the only one that bridged the gap between.
You were in charge of pairing their iPhones to their cars, weren't you?
Yeah, I was one of the only millennials on a job site for multiple times, and it was if another young person did come on the site and they were going to be a construction helper, and then half the time they were the bottom scrapings. They had been in a lot of trouble in their past, and they just needed something that they could make money. And not that those people shouldn't have jobs, and not that those people can't be good at construction jobs, but
it was a last
if
resort.
It continues on that balance, if it continues on that path, then you will have such a great imbalance of all of these people who were really, really intelligent being replaced with people that this was just the backup plan of the backup plan, and they don't really care about the trade or their job. So they just do it for a paycheck. And you don't want those people on a construction site for a couple of different reasons.
Or in your house or
whatever. It just makes it's not a good working environment if a site gets inflated with them.
So let's attempt to divert back in so we can keep this under 5 hours today.
Probably not.
We've looked at trades. We've looked at the headwinds that you have as a student today as you're coming in. Modern policy, current policy, and this is what got Sean booked on the show this week. Was his views. One of the presidential candidates. This is kind of the cycle we've gotten into here on the show. Is we look at these presidential candidates who are mostly the Democrats, because there's only the one there's one, and then there's a fake Republican on the GOP side. By the way, that guy watched me and Dakota speak once.
He clapped for me.
He did. He was very proud of us. Anyway, totally off topic. But we have these policy initiatives that are coming about, and one of them is Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is talking about student loan forgiveness. And she has a plan that she's rolled out that Sean says, hey, let's actually have a conversation about this, because one side is trying to do something and talking about it and might win on the issue, whether they're right or not. And Republicans say, well, you need to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Right. That's the boiled down version.
Yeah. I mean, the self-sufficient message is important in life, but for something that's so pervasive in the system, self-sufficiency is not going to solve this problem. And the fact that there are some on the left that are actually saying that this is a real problem, and that everyone else is on the right is saying, well, this isn't a problem at all, or I'm not going to say anything at all about it, is really discouraging. And I think there's fiscally responsible ways to address the student loan debt issue.
And I've heard it said a lot in the YouTube videos that I've been watching this past week. Everyone keeps comparing the looming student debt that is over the country, which is at $1.3 trillion right now. Mm-hmm. They keep comparing it to the housing bubble, mm-hmm. and whenever it collapsed, and they say, you think that was bad? Mm-hmm. Just wait until 90% of students are defaulting on their student loans, and they can't declare bankruptcy.
You can't. Yeah, I was going to say, federally, you cannot. They are with you until you're dead. You've either paid them, or you've died, or you are incapacitated. Right. That's the only way you get out of them. You cannot bankrupt them.
There are a lot of college students or past college students that they don't pay them. Mm-hmm. You can't default on them, but you just can't pay them. And the reason that you can't default on a student loan or claim it in bankruptcy is because the government says
they've guaranteed it.
Well, they say, there's no collateral with an education. We can't steal your education back from you that we paid for. So there's nothing that we can take back, which you probably can. I mean, the science is probably there now. We can probably erase that past 4 years.
Little Men in Black thing, right?
Yeah, we're just going to take this back. But it's I do think that it's an issue, and I think that it's important to be brought up.
So Elizabeth Warren wants to go in and eliminate $640 billion worth of federal student loans.
Right.
Saying you could, if you have a household income under $100,000, you could have $50,000 in debt canceled.
Yep. And if you are a household making more than $250,000, then you would have to apply to have your portfolio combed through with a fine-tooth comb, and then see if you would actually get student loan forgiveness. But you still wouldn't get the full $50,000.
So, in theory, let's just talk about this for a half second and take this policy somewhat seriously. What happens to the family that makes $130,000 a year, $120,000 a year? If you have two people that went to a 4-year college, mm-hmm. let's say that you're hoping in 10 years out of school they're making $60,000 a piece. That's not an unreasonable expectation. Now they're over her $100,000 limit. What happens to those people?
Well, I think this is one of the weaknesses of the policy is that it's tiered, right? Mm-hmm. So that if you're on a lower tier, I think it doesn't start at 100,000. I don't think. I think it starts lower than that at like 50,000 or something like that. But if you're at a certain level, you'll get a certain amount forgiven, and that's decreased as your income increases, which I think is a real weakness to the plan, because the people that are the higher wage earners are the people that are going to be owning the small businesses, driving economic development in local communities like this one.
They're the ones that are feeling the boat anchor of this.
And most of the time, those folks are the ones who are the lawyers that are making more than that. And they went to school for a really long time and amassed more student debt than the guy that can't pay for his associate's degree. And he makes $50,000 a year.
All of this debt, what it does is and studies have shown this, that it puts off milestones in your life. Mm-hmm. You buy a house later, you get married later, you have kids later, if at all. And these are all things that slow the economy, right? Mm-hmm. That, as you're having kids, they're coming along faster. We need, generations instead of replacing ourselves every 20 years. Now we're replacing ourselves every 25, 30, 35, 40 years. Mm-hmm. So we're almost missing generations of American population that could be producing.
Right.
Right. And Elizabeth Warren,
You're already late having kids, Dakota.
Uh,
And I'm twice as late.
I'm right on time.
You're just an overachiever,
Well,
Mister. Wearing a suit and tie.
Wearing a suit and tie to the boss.
I'm a
hog. What else can I
lawyer.
do?
I wear glasses.
Those are stunt glasses. He doesn't really need them.
These don't have any lenses in them.
It's Clark Kent over
Hipster
there.
glasses. She does have a plan, and I'm using air quotes whenever I say that. And she proposes a 2% tax on, I think it was the net worth of the richest 1% of Americans, which was
It's always those same people getting picked on.
Yeah,
every
you know,
time.
the
How many
1%.
times can you milk the same stone for?
Old man yells at rich people. She's proposing a 2% tax, and it's not on income. It is on some type of work, and they're not calling it a tax. She's calling it a levy.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tomato, but at the same time,
Levy is theft.
I mean, the idea is at least she's proposing something, whereas Donald
She's
J. Trump,
talking about it.
Donald J. Trump has not proposed
This has
any
not
bit of
been an issue he's
policy
talked about.
at all because he's like 70 and he doesn't really care about what happens to the planet in the next 10
went to
years,
college,
whatever he
it
kicks
was
the bucket.
$2,000, and
Yeah.
he was
went-
the son of a billionaire. So there's no
he went
problem.
to Wharton in the 70s, right?
If it literally
Or
does not
60s.
affect his family or one of his rich friends, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And this has been your anti-Trump moment. I got it in.
Is there theme music? No, of course not.
No, there's trains.
So I do have a list
All
of
trains.
the pros and cons of her plan that I was able to pull. I used the Levy Economics Institute from Bard College.
That sounds
the-
like a fake college. That sounds like Trump University.
The College of the Bards.
Like an Oblivion or something.
Yeah,
Morrell
yeah,
and-
exactly. And they had issued a paper that had some interesting numbers in it that said, let's break this down by the numbers and see what this could impact if her plan actually went through. And then the Manhattan Institute, they released a similar study, but it was all just trashing it. Like, this is a horrible idea. So I took 3 bullet points from each of them. So we already talked about college debt is linked to delayed milestones in adulthood. So you get rid of the debt, maybe we would return back to these traditional milestones.
And you'd have people that can spend money, start a business or buy a
Right.
car or whatever that they're
So
holding
it's
off.
similar to what we talked about with Eric Schonsberg with the universal basic income
Right.
last week. You know,
Right.
like,
It does tie in.
yeah. So they also said that eliminating the student debt would actually increase the net worth of the average American household. And of course, because they no longer have crippling debt. But they also say it could send $1.1 trillion to the economy over the next decade, which is a lot of money.
I think that's kind of conservative too.
Yeah.
That
Was
think
because
that's a
Medium,
little low.
Slate, some other left, like the hard left leaning websites that I was looking at, they always had it like in the 1.6, 1.7, somewhere around that range. But the Bards,
it's hard to project out at 10 years. I understand that, but I think that certainly would be a net gain there.
for sure. Yeah, just like we were talking about with Eric. And then also the increased amount of disposable income could help more young entrepreneurs start their businesses. They also said that it can lead up to 1.5 million new jobs in the United States per year. 1.5 million new jobs per year, not in a 10-year period. They were projecting that every single year after student loan forgiveness.
Are you saying this is the one time a broken window liberal policy is going to stimulate the economy? Are you agreeing with this? You're
No, I'm
on
just-
board with this?
I'm just pointing out what this, what the Levy Economics Institute has to say about it.
Are you buying any of this, Mason?
1.5
sold?
seems a little steep.
You pulling a Democrat ballot this November or not November, next May?
We'll get through it.
You gonna pull that lever for Elizabeth Warren, my lady Warren. I'm with her.
Well, it is the one-time fix. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't theoretically you can't pull the rabbit out of the hat again because it's just not there to be had.
Right, and that was one of the cons that was brought up by the Manhattan Institute. They said it.
Oh, don't think that we won't get in student loan debt after this.
Right.
As a society.
I mean,
we'll have to forgive it again somewhere else.
You would have to overhaul everything, and I don't think that there's any Democrat with enough political clout to do that.
No.
Especially with Congress as it is now.
And by the way, how unfair is it to everybody that went through college like I did? Let's just take a minute. That went to 2 years of community college and was a commuter student and suffered through and worked and found scholarships and found ways to work for an employer that paid for it.
I would say this.
That scrimped and scraved and had no money to start, but found a way to get through without student loans.
If it's something that improves the economy generally,
I want mine.
Well, there's a lot of
things. I want my $50,000 check.
There's a lot of Republican or Libertarian policies that would not necessarily affect me that I would support because it betters the economy in general.
But there will be a side of the economy or a side of the stakeholders that are going to say, they're going to raise their hand and say, I want my cut.
Or you're no longer a stakeholder if you don't own debt.
I'm in the society.
Well, it's what? Let's Louis C.K. has that quote of the only time you should look in your brother's cup is to make sure he has enough. That's what
Louis C.K. is known for. Yes.
Are we allowed to quote Louis C.K. anymore?
I don't know if it's time yet. This is your podcast, not mine.
I don't know if it's.
He's touring again. It's okay.
I don't know if enough time has passed.
Listen, he apologized.
Louis C.K.
He's touring again.
Was a comedian who used to be widely accepted as funny.
Extremely famous.
And then Me Too happened.
Yeah, I
you know the story.
I know a little bit of it.
He was alive then. He was alive a year ago. Then.
I'm going to just explain everything to him. George W. Bush was a war criminal president. All right.
So the other
he was
concern,
probably president when you were born, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The other concern, and I think that this is actually the biggest concern from the Manhattan Institute, and I was talking about the 2% levy on the 1%'s wealth would actually not come close to paying for the proposed solution. It would raise $275 billion, and she needs, what, 640?
And the top 1% are pretty good at not paying taxes.
The important thing to remember,
the other thing,
because they got
the federal
government lawyers,
a little slippery.
The federal government never pays for anything. They don't pay for wars. They don't pay for tax cuts. None of this. 20 years ago, when you're proposing this stuff actually had to make sense and match.
Right.
Katie barred the door. We're adding $1 trillion to 1.5 trillion a year in debt. It does not matter. We as voters don't give a damn. Doesn't have to tie. We don't practice accounting. Doesn't matter. Yep. It's a non-starter.
Well, when the banks come in after the financial crisis and they say, well, either you give us exactly what we want or there's going to be martial law in the streets and there's going to be blood in the streets. And then
it's going to be bloody.
And then they get exactly what they want and they get the golden parachutes. And then you have a whole generation of people really struggling with this, looking for a real solution. Mm-hmm. And then you have a whole party that just does not care at all about this. I find it really troubling. And I think that the Warren proposal is problematic. And I think that it would have to require some wide sweeping systemic change that nobody has the stomach for.
What it's going to take is a comprehensive list of things that from after doing a multivariable analysis of what are the true reasons and what are the things that we can immediately fix and what are some of the things that need to be fixed as we continue down this road. Right. It's not going to be the Warren plan is just slapping the Band-Aid on the symptom, on the 6-inch cut. Yeah. They also said that, listen, the federal government has so many other obligations and we can't pay it. We're $22 trillion in debt. And Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid are expected to be deflated by 2035. Why are we talking about trying to implement new taxes to pay for new programs? This is what they wound up ending the argument on.
In 10 or 15, 20 years, you're going to have real civil unrest over the fact that all these people have defaulted, cannot get credit now, and are just stuck in this existence.
And then,
it's
if you listen to Andrew Yang, all those people are unemployed because their jobs have been taken by robots.
This has turned into the second most sad and depressing part of the show tonight.
Yang Gang.
Are
you remember the Yang Gang?
He addressed his followers as the Yang Gang on a live stream.
It's like a Reddit thing, apparently, but I'm too old to know about Reddit. Do you know about Reddit, Yang Gang, at all?
It was a
Yeah, I know about Reddit. I wasn't born on bots. It's like,
what about Yang Gang?
It was actually
I defer to our relative or our resident young person.
The Tide Pod
Yang
eater
Gang.
in the corner.
It was actually started on 4chan.
4chan. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
It's a hotbed of
and the reason that
nefarious
it
doings.
started over there was the alt right now hates Trump. If you don't know, because
they turned on him.
Yeah, because he
He's a
supports
cuck.
Israel so much, and they hate Jews, so now they hate him. So then they said, listen, everything that we want, nothing, even this guy we loved isn't able to deliver.
Right.
So let's just keep things going the way that we hate, but we might as well get $1,000 a month. So that was the start of Yang Gang.
So the alt-right turned into Yang Gang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've seen generation after generation has said, okay, we're in so much debt. We're going to be in debt. It literally is the proverbial kicking the can down the road. You just want to have your life come and go before we have to pay the piper. That's what's happening here. So we restructure the debt, we borrow it, and we just hope that we're dead and gone before it becomes a problem. So we're $22 trillion in debt. The one serious proposal we see out there right now is this, hey, we're going to forgive half of the debt for the individuals and take it on the federal side, which is very problematic. Mm-hmm. What other solutions are there actually out there? Are there any other serious proposals, Dakota?
Yeah, there are a couple. One of the ones that I actually really liked, and Gary Johnson talked about this during the 2016 campaign, and he got a lot of hate from the purist libertarians, was he talked about Oregon's Pay It Forward, Pay It Back program, which was enacted over there in 2013. But basically, the state pays for the students to attend an in-state college for 4 years. The state pays for it. And then once that student graduates and they start working, then the student pays back the state in the form of just like it's just added on to their taxes. It's automatically taken out of their paycheck. And that is based on a scale of how much you actually earn in income.
So that really dovetails into Purdue and what Purdue's done with the bachelor boiler program. Cool proposal. One that did not make the list, the state of Tennessee, if you go to an in-state school, your first 2 years are free.
Yep.
So you get an
associate's degree.
Yeah, you get an associate's degree. There's no cost at all. So back a boiler is something that Purdue came out with about 2 years ago. In their program, you have to be a Purdue University student. It's not available to freshmen, but it is for sophomores on up. You get an interest-free loan up to say $5,000, I think, per semester, somewhere in that range. We'll say $5,000 for now. We'll use round numbers. $5,000 a semester. You don't have to use the whole thing if you don't want to, and you do not pay interest on it. Your repay is 10% of your income until 10 years has gone by, or you have paid back 2.5 times what you borrowed. So it's interest free.
And these are private individuals that are choosing to back Purdue University.
These are Purdue University alumni that are funding this program. It's an investment for them, and that's why it's called Back a Boiler. You're a boiler alum. You put money in a pot, and then Purdue, as a community, decides that they're going to fund this. It's a voluntary program. No interest. The nice thing, the appealing side to me is, okay, if you graduate from college, Mason, at 23 years old, 22 years old, no matter what, you are done with your obligation in 10 years. So you're 32, 33-year-old, you are free and you're good to go. So that solves the, I'm saddled with this, I can't get rid of it, I've got it for life, I can't bankrupt it. You're good. And you can also pay it off early. So if you land the job where it's just insane and you're going to do insanely well, say you borrowed $20,000 through this program, you pay back $50,000 and you're free and clear forever. You're good. Or you pay 10% of what you're making until you've paid back 2.5 times, or you get to the 10-year mark. Any of those. this is not necessarily completely designed to replace student loans, but it's another tool in the toolbox that I really think is, instead of having the federal government pay for this, right? You're using the Purdue University, the alumni association, the alumni program to do that.
And
they're making money on it.
Also proposals of not forcing state or private colleges to curb the amount of faculty they have, the amount of buildings that they build, which is where a lot of our cost comes from, is the outrageous amount of administrators on college campuses now. And but there are ideas rather of encouragement from the federal government of we have these grants, but you hired this many more people last year and raised your tuition rates this much, so you're automatically taken out of the equation for this money. And doing so, the idea is everybody's going to do what Mitch Daniels has done at Purdue and freeze their tuition rates and decide we're not raising costs because we're going to find ways to trim the fat here, which is absolutely amazing that Mitch Daniels is doing that without that other type of encouragement coming through. What is it, going on 7 years that he hasn't raised the tuition?
So. It's been a decent amount.
Yeah.
And every time something like that comes along, he shoots an email to us. Just recently, they announced the tuition freeze, and I'm going to find that. They announced the tuition freeze through, I think it's like 2022.
So you're going to pay the same throughout your entire college program?
Yeah. Well, until I get into grad school, because Purdue University does like 2 years, 2 years,
grad school,
2 years undergrad.
I'm going to be Dr. Mason if everything goes okay.
But yeah, I am going to be kind of a doctor.
You're going to wear a white lab coat, right?
It counts.
Doctor enough.
I'm kind of a lawyer, so
it says,
that's all good.
So this coming year will be the 8th year, so 7th previously through 2021. But also, it says a 2.5% merit raise pool for all the faculty and staff on the campus making less than $75,000 or less receive a one-time $500 appreciation bonus in the spring. And they've actually been cracking down. I always hear on campus about like, oh, there's a meeting tonight with, board members and alumni about the tuition freeze and how much longer he's going to be able to do it. I also heard rumor, but like it hasn't been like announced. He doesn't take any,
he works for free.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that. No, he doesn't work for free, but he doesn't take,
He doesn't take a salary paid for by the school.
He takes a lot less than he should.
Yeah.
I mean, he only made $130,000 a year as governor, and y'all give him free housing up there.
Yeah,
right?
he lives right there off the campus. And
You ever visit him? You ever hang out with Mitch?
I kind of want to have dinner with him, but
You should try to make that
and
happen.
he's not a hard guy to find.
He looks like John Andretti.
Make that happen.
just-
Bring him back as a guest.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
I would love to have Mitch
That's the
Daniels
end.
here as a guest.
I'm gonna try that.
I would just for the occasion, I would put one of those
Yeah.
little stickers on the back of my truck that has the caricature peeing on the My Man Mitch thing. I'd be like, "Oh, sorry, sir.
How
did you see my truck?"
embarrassing. I had
Pulls up, sees that, just drives away.
Just keeps
Mitch,
driving.
when Mitch was running for governor, it was one of the most interesting. It was 2004. I was a college student, and he came to visit my school,
Yeah.
and I signed
You did the bus.
I signed the bus. Yeah, he came to Ivy Tech in Muncie at the time. It was a big deal. All
It's
right.
a big deal.
So then,
very impressive
Then
guy.
we have the Yang Gang proposal. Yang Gang. Andrew Yang has proposed to make student debt. He's got basically these 4 steps to his plan. He wants to make student debt dischargeable in bankruptcy.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That started getting harder from Jimmy Carter, right? Yeah. And he says that he wants students to make payments based on a % of their income, and he wants it to come out of your paycheck just like a tax. And then he wants to eliminate all interest rates on subsidized as well as unsubsidized loans. So he wants to make law, even if you get a personal loan paying for your college, there is no interest rate.
That's never going to happen.
Why would you have any incentive whatsoever to make that loan?
You wouldn't.
If you are Chase Bank
Right.
and you're offering student loans, you're doing that because you
Out of the goodness of their heart, man.
You are going to make money for the bank.
Privately,
Don't you
it'll
know?
never happen. It'll never pass.
It's-
If you are still saying that the federal government should be in the business of providing loans, I think that's something that a very liberal Congress could get behind and say, we're going to do that. I mean, I guess there's deeper philosophical questions as to, should the government charge interest on student loans? Should the government be in student loan interest industry in the first place?
Right. And
When
he
you get into
He also wants to increase the bureaucracy around college tuition. So he wants you to go. He wants there to be a group of people, and they say, Purdue University, Mitch Daniels, you have to drop your tuition rates, and there's nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. So that's the Yang Gang proposal. And then there's also the proposal of Mitch McConnell and President Donald J. Trump. Mm-hmm. And that is the old do nothing proposal.
Do nothing because you're not a bank or a coal company or whatever we're going to care about. I'm like, man,
you're crowded out. My problem is that when you
axe to grind, don't I?
when you have federal student loans, there is no aggressive marketing of student loans. Nobody's trying to be your student loan company.
Right.
It's a last resort, and you're not competing. It's not, hey, here's these 15 banks that want to do business with you, and they're trying. It's not. They're not on TV trying to sell you student loans.
Right.
They're not showing up at places where the people that need to make a decision on a student loan are. That is not. There's not a market for that, and I think it's because we have these super cheap student loans from the federal level.
Right.
And they're no risk. There's no people take them that should never take them. There's no pre-qualification and I feel like this is an opinion from me. This is not based in fact, but I don't think it's a stretch. People get in programs that they shouldn't borrowing that money. Mm-hmm. You end up with $200,000 in debt, and it would be a program that would never be able to earn enough to justify that.
Right. And I think that if there were libertarian principles in place, we wouldn't have a government involved in student loans to begin with. So we wouldn't necessarily have this type of a problem.
Maybe but we're pregnant, right? Let's solve it.
But we're here now. Here we are.
So let's double down on it's free for everybody.
Well, I don't agree with that either. I think that one of the things that I really think about is that for the higher income earner, or someone that is a young professional that they're doing all right, but they're paying a lot of taxes, make student loan interest deductible. It's not costing the government anything to allow me to deduct more from my taxes. Like the limit is like $2,000. You guys know this per year?
Yeah. You got a tax credit. The first 2 years I had, I got a tax credit it wasn't a deduction. It was truly what I paid in taxes. I got as a straight up credit off of my taxes.
So I deal with like this deduction that's just absurdly low. And it was probably set around the Civil War or whatever. And it's never changed because nobody cares. I mean, that would be something where you're not handing anybody money. You're just allowing people to keep more of their money.
After the most recent tax reform that happened, I would be interested to see what number of people actually were able to itemize. But it's a very difficult number to get to itemize. You would have to have after the latest tax reform. It would be, I don't know how many people. Definitely nobody in the targeted classes of Elizabeth Warren. You could make it all entirely tax deductible and still probably not get enough to want to itemize versus take the standard deduction.
Oh yeah,
because you would have to be paying. I mean, it would be off the charts.
Yes,
off the charts. To the point where you probably weren't able to make your payments anyway.
Right.
Am I crazy? Anybody?
No.
I mean, that would just
you're on the right track.
The theory. I mean, because it's like $20,000 a year, right? Your standard deduction for a couple, it's like 24,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would have to have
12 for singles.
So you say you've got a couple. I just maybe if you're a ridiculously generous person giving, and you can take mileage. It would be so difficult to get to that number that it would be the extreme to me.
It's difficult to get to that number regardless.
Right.
But
I
think
think even if you add student loans in, I just don't know that's
there's a certain cap as to what you get credited for or allowed to deduct.
Right.
And that cap shouldn't exist.
Right. But I'm saying even if you remove that cap, I don't think it solves the problem. If you really want to make that matter, I think you need to give it as the credit. So the tuition paid, because there was a number where you could take a certain amount off in tuition paid.
Right.
That's where you would have to make it a credit instead of a deduction.
I mean, these are policy questions that libertarians and Republicans should be talking about.
There should be no income tax. Taxation is theft.
Boom, atom bomb. You just solved this little fly swatter problem with the atom bomb.
There we go.
Just a review, real quick.
Problem fixed.
Real quick, Forbes article. It says 9 in 10 are going to claim the standard deduction under the tax reform. Yeah. So you're looking at 10% people itemizing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty optimistic as well.
Yeah, definitely for sure. But
I can't. I don't see. You need to be in a multi-million-dollar house. I mean, it would just be insane to have enough interest to do that. To the areas where you get it, it's just not. Or medical expenses. You had the massive medical expenses.
I guess you wouldn't be able to write off all of your. It wouldn't solve the whole problem. It would just relieve pressure on people.
I feel like you'd fill out a form and feel like you got something. You get on the back end, you just be pissed that you're like, oh, damn it! I saved all those receipts and it meant nothing. It meant nothing. Yeah. But Nancy Pelosi got to celebrate.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just Debbie Downer today.
Here's all right, to cap off our conversation about colleges, a little fun fact for everybody. The very first graduating class of Harvard University was in 1642. Mm-hmm. And it was
when Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
It was
close.
There were 9 men. Only 9 men in the very first graduating class. So
is that even a university then? Is that's just like
these 9 guys?
A book reading.
It was
club.
in their hearts.
These 9 millionaires. Built a castle.
What
and they were
really
like,
is that?
We're going to put our books here and give ourselves.
A university was a collection of books. It was a library. In 1790, I think you just said, "Hey, I'm a lawyer," and nobody. Right. I mean, there wasn't a bar.
Yeah, Abe Lincoln wasn't passing the bar. I'm sorry.
Right. It was like the
you go around, you say I'm a lawyer.
This is there are 5 lawyers in this room in Lincoln's time.
It's a doctor.
You walked into a town in the West, and you went, "Hello, sir. My name is Jonathan Schwarzenkopf, and I am a great lawyer from the city of New York." And they were like,
"My head hurts.
Wow.
You should do cocaine about it." That's All right. So we've solved everything.
Yes.
Congressman Pence, I'm glad you're watching. I look forward to enacting all of the laws that Dakota promoted.
That's true. And if you listen to this show on the We Are Libertarians Daily side of things, then this is the end of the program for you guys. You can listen to the rest of it at bosshogofliberty.com or search for us on your favorite podcast player, or maybe it'll be up on YouTube by the time you listen to this. Who knows? Just want to say thank you to Sean.
Thank you.
And as well as Mason, both of you guys, for coming out and talking to us about student loans and the cost of tuition and both of your very relevant experiences.
BossHogOfLiberty.com. We'll see you all over there.